Hello and welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to be creating a system that's going to supercharge your short form content. So any short form idea you have in your head, you can enter it into this system and it's going to use AI to create a hook. It's going to use AI to create a caption and the entire script. And you're even going to be able to upload the video you created with the script, and it's going to auto-publish it and auto-schedule it to your own social media platforms. It's going to improve the speed at which you can create short form content by 5 times. And we're going to create this entire automation without writing a single line of code. We're going to create a full-on front end and an entire backend. And what we're going to use to build this automation is Up Antigravity. It's Google's AI-powered coding assistant. And then we're going to even take it one step further and we're going to go and deploy this entire solution. So you can use it wherever you are on the world and you don't need your laptop. It's going to run on the cloud. And one of the main things we'll be focusing on is making sure it's entirely secure. So who am I and what do? My name's Yash and I run my own AI automation agency and we just hit $20,000 per month. And while I run my own AI automation agency, I travel around the world. So here is me in Thailand working on my agency with one of the most amazing views. And here's me in Bali smiling with a monkey. And one of the cool things about running your own AI automation agency is it gives you that level of freedom to work wherever you want. So what's my whole goal with creating content like this? So I'm going to show you how to build an AI automation that people are actually going to pay for, right? I see a lot of things on YouTube where people build out these really flashy and cool automations, but a lot of them are kind of like shiny object syndrome. So we're going to make everything super simple, but it's going to be a direct pathway to build automations that, you're actually going to make money from. And I'm also going to break down an anti-gravity framework that I use to create valuable automations like this one on repeat. And lastly, if you're interested in starting your own AI automation agency, I have a community that you can join where I literally teach you the straightest path to starting a profitable AI automation agency. Okay, so let's get cracking. The first step of this whole thing is going to be planning exactly what we're going to build. So I told you a very rough, high-level idea of exactly what we're looking to build. However, we need to go more in depth if we're going to build anything. If you don't come up with the full idea and how you're going to build it and the architecture before you jump into beautiful anti-gravity over here, you're going to run into so many issues when it comes to the building phase. So what we need to do is fully scope out the idea in our head, and we're going to use AI to help us fully scope out the idea in our head. So over here, I have a step-by-step guide on how to build out these kind of automations in anti-gravity. You can find this exact document in my community. Okay, so let's get cracking. We got step 1 over here, and essentially it says decide what you want to build. For example, an invoice extractor tool. Well, we already know what we want to build, right? We want to build out this dashboard that's going to help us supercharge our short form content by creating scripts, etc., etc. So let's jump onto step 2 then. We want to define exactly what we're going to build using prompt 1. So I'm going to go to our prompts tab over here, and I'm going to click on prompt 1, which is exactly where we are, to figure out exactly what we are building. So I'm going to copy over this entire prompt. I'm going to paste this prompt into Gemini. And here we go. Gemini is asking for our automation idea. So I'm going to give it as many details as I can just to start with. Hey, so I'm looking to build an automation where it's like a dashboard and we can enter in an idea for our short form content. And once we enter in an idea, it's going to create a hook and it's going to create a caption and it's going to create a full-on script that we're going to discuss in our short form content. It's going to be like a video where you're just filming yourself and you are talking. I then want to take this one step further and I want to have like an auto publishing system. So I already use Publer. This is a tool that allows us to auto publish to our social media platforms and it has an API. So I want to use that. The user is going to be able to upload a video to this dashboard and then it will use Publer to actually go and publish this video to our short form platform. Okay, there we go. So let's use Publer. Let's just change out some of the words I used. Publer, there we go, sweet. So it knows exactly what we're talking about. And essentially what we're going to do is we're going to publish this video to our short form. I think this all kind of makes sense. We will upload the video directly to the front end. There we go. Sweet. So I think this has all the information it needs. Cool. Let's go with Pro and let's click enter, right? So this is our idea that it asked for. We've pushed that all into our Gemini over here. Okay, so I answered some questions about the scope, right? So it gave me like a flow about how we want it to be. So for example, it'll first be in pending videos when we enter an idea in, and then we can come back, review the script, click upload video and hit publish. That's like the perfect script. That's exactly how I want the flow to go. So I said that flow makes sense. And then it asked for like an example idea of what I would put in just so it kind of knows. And I said like why AI automation is the best side hustle in 2026. And there we go. We got that, directly does it there. And also, so it's just a simple punchy one-liner. And then also, do we want to be able to edit the actual hooks and the scripts or no? I said, yes, we absolutely want to have the ability to tweak the scripts and the hooks so they're perfect for us. And also, does it say like, are we going to upload the finished video to our actual platform? And I said, yes, we're going to upload the full finished video, and I'm only going to be publishing it to TikTok. The reason I'm only publishing it to TikTok is just because it's only a YouTube video right now, but you can obviously add more. It's super simple to add more using Publer, and I'll show you exactly how to do that as well. And then lastly, we have a failed try again. It's great. So for example, if there's an error with Publer, APIs go down, then what sort of type of error should it throw? And I just said like failed try again is great. This is like kind of what normal SaaSes and these kind of automations always throw as an error. And bada boom, we have a full-on project scope summary ready to go. It goes through the user experience, the data flow, also key features. It basically has everything that we need to go and do, which is nice. Now, there are some things I have for an idea. So the next thing we're going to do is step 2, which I'm going to give you a little spoiler. It's kind of like technical specifications, like what kind of tools are we going to use? So we already got Publer as our publishing tool, right? But there are a few more other things that we could use here. So I think for sure we're probably going to use Claude as the AI model to create the scripts and also the hooks, etc. I find Claude the best for kind of generating all of these content and kind of writing. I think it's really good at that. Then for input, that doesn't really matter. For storage, I'm thinking perhaps we use Google Drive for storage. I already have a Google Drive account, so it just integrates directly into my tech stack. And also, obviously, Publer for uploading the content. We already decided that. And then the rest, I think I might let it decide for whatever else we need. So that's cool. Now, let's go to our next step, right? Step 2, if you go here, is to determine how we're going to build it. So I already have some tools in mind, but let's go through and go to prompt 2 and just copy it. And I'm going to go to a brand new Gemini page, and I'm going to make sure I'm set to Pro, and then I'm going to click Submit. And now it's going to ask us a bunch of other questions to kind of make sure we fully scope out this entire project end to end. Okay, perfect. So I have the full project scope over here, and I got this from our chat here. I just copied and pasted it through. I'm gonna click enter here. Cool, so I pasted the project scope in, and here we go. We've got a full tool stack recommendation. So let's see what it goes through. Recommended database is Supabase. So in our prompt, we have 2 different types of databases. One is SQLite, and the other one is Supabase, right? So Supabase is a bit more complicated setup. SQLite Antigravity sets up entirely in the background. But for this automation, I think we're going to need to use Supabase as well, because we're going to have to keep like consistent memory, which SQLite will simply not be able to do. So Supabase is a good shout for this one. I agree with that. Then the processing steps breakdown. For the AI content, state queue management, blah, blah, blah. All right, let's go through it. For AI content generation, it's suggesting Google Gemini. I do not want to use Google Gemini. I want to use Claude. So I'm just going to tell it this. So AI content generation, I want to use Claude Sonnet 4.6, not 4.5, 4.6 came out recently. So that's perfect. So let's go with that. That's cool. And then what's next? So for state management, we decided Supabase. I'm going to go with Supabase, whatever, that's fine. Then for video file storage, I think Google Drive is best. So I want to use Google Drive for this instead. Perfect. So this way it will use Google Drive for us, which is super neat. I do not want to keep it simple. Let's integrate something else while we're doing it. Sweet. And then sending data to Publer API, we're going to be using Python. That's all good. This is sweet. Okay, I think the rest is all pretty good. Let me just also clarify this. So one of the things is Google Gemini has a cutoff date. All AI models have a cutoff date on where their knowledge stops, right? I think Google Gemini is around when Claude Sonnet 3.5 was out. So if I say this, it's going to say, hey man, Claude Sonnet 4.6 doesn't exist, when we all know it does exist. So therefore I just need to just mention a couple of caveats here. So Claude Sonnet 4.6 is definitely an available model, just you have a cutoff date before that. I insist and demand you to use Claude Sonnet 4.6 in your technical stack. There we go. So this way it will 100% use it in our tech stack. Otherwise it like kind of defaults using 3.5. That's fine. And hopefully it should come up with our revised tech stack when I click enter here. And I probably should have said everything else is fine actually. So let me go and edit this. No, we're here. All right. Everything else is fine. Okay, so I submitted our prompt. I just added everything else is fine at the bottom, just so it knows to continue with the rest of the stack. And now it's going to give us a full-on specification. While it's doing that, let's go to the next step. So we have prompt 3, which is now to generate backend instructions. So I'm going to go over to prompts. I'm going to zoom over to prompt 3, and I'm going to copy this. Okay, so now we nailed it. We have all the different tools. So we're going to be using Anthropic over here. Video file, we're going to be using your API auth. So hopefully that is good. That's sweet. And then we have Supabase as our backend. I think the tool stack is amazing. Now I want to get a backend prompt. So let's go and drop this prompt over here. And this is going to give us a prompt that we're going to start building in Antigravity. So while this happens, let's also move on to the next step to keep the productivity high. So we have our agents.md file that we need to add into Antigravity. So if you've never used Antigravity before, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. So you want to go on the internet, type in Antigravity, Google, sweet. And we're over here. You just click on the first thing, antigravity.google. And this should open up a page where you'll find a download button up here. And there'll also be a download for Mac OS over here. So download Antigravity. Then once we're downloaded, we're ready to go. It should look something like this, where you'll have an open folder button. You want to click open folder, and I'm under the YT videos, which is because I'm creating a YouTube video. I'm going to click new folder. And what are we going to call this folder? Well, this is our short form content script and upload. Let's just call it that. Why not? Click create. And then when you're in the folder that you created, only then do you click open it. It's going to be an empty folder. And this is exactly where our entire project is going to live. It's going to live on your laptop while we build it, right? And it's going to have all the different files, all the different Python files, all loaded up directly into that specific folder on your laptop direct. Cool. So our agent is currently loading. And in the meantime, while it's loading, we can flick back to our Google Gemini chat. And over here, you can see it's given us a backend prompt. I'm just going to read through this really quick. So let's go over here. This is the backend API short form content by taking simple text ideas and full production. API endpoints. I think this is good. My main problem is I don't think Antigravity is going to have exact knowledge of what we're looking to build entirely. Also give me some context on what we are building, like non-technical, right? So I just want Antigravity to also have an overview of exactly what our automation is going to be. Is the agent all loaded? Perfect. The next thing we're going to do is not forget our last step, which was to actually go and add our agents.md file to Antigravity. Well, you see a tab over here called agents.md. We're going to click on this. We're going to copy everything from this file, right? And what this file is going to be is kind of the instructions that Antigravity needs to follow throughout the entire automation. It includes things like what tech stack we're going to use. So what we're going to build, what tool we're going to use to build the front end, what tool we're going to use to build the back end. For example, we're using Python to build the back end, and we're using fast APIs, for example. And also it gives Antigravity all the different strict rules for also building high velocity automations. So I'm going to paste this in over here. And here we go. This is our full-on agents.md prompt. Don't forget to save it so Antigravity can actually go and see it. If you don't save it, then sometimes it doesn't actually materialize and Antigravity can't see it when you tell it to reference the agents.md file. So always remember to save your files. That's perfect. Okay, let's flick back to Google Gemini. By this point, it's given it a full idea. So let's go and copy this. I think this is just the idea. So let's go and copy this idea over here. And let's go read agents.md file before doing anything else. We're going to type this directly into our agent. We then want to paste like a project overview, which is this, and then your backend creation instructions. And I'm going to flick back to our Google Gemini, and I'm going to copy the backend instructions, and I'm going to paste it over here. Right, and I'm going to be using the planning mode and also Gemini 3.1 high, and we're going to put this into Antigravity, and now it's going to start building all this really cool stuff for us. First, it's going to reference agents.md, then it's going to read through the project overview, and then it's going to start to build the backend for us. So while this is happening, we can start to do our next step. So it did analyze our agents.md file, which is great. And now we're going to go back to the next step so we can keep productive. We're on step 6, right? Which is to build the backend. Now, while we do that, I'm going to go to step 7, which is to create a front end. So this is going to be to use prompt 4. So we're going to go over here to prompt 4, which is our front end prompt for Antigravity. I'm going to copy this entire thing. And I want to make sure the front end is built perfectly, right? Okay, so I got our front end prompt in here. I'm going to paste it in. So this has all the context out of our previous chat with all the different tools we're going to use, exactly what we're trying to build here with the scope. And now what's going to happen is it's going to create a full-on front-end prompt for us. But first, it might ask us some questions. If it has any assumptions, then it needs to make sure it asks us any questions that we have, for example, such as page layout, etc., etc. So let's go through it. Okay, so I went through step by step and I ended up with a front-end design specification just to run you through the questions it asked me. So how far up do we go? So quite far up it looks like. So this is where I entered in the prompt, and then it said, do you want multiples like tabs and screens and everything? I just said one screen is good. I don't think I want to overcomplicate it for no reason. So one screen was awesome, and I want like this cards kind of vibe. So the screen is there, and then we have each video is kind of like its own card, and you can click into the card and see all the different captions, etc., etc. And then also, did it say like a new idea button over like a opening up a new card for a new idea? I just want like a button where you can say new idea and then type in the idea. I think that's a lot better. And then should a new card appear immediately, like writing your, like, I just want to say like loading or writing your masterpiece while once you put a new idea, while Claude actually gets back to us with the hook and captions, etc. So that was that question over here. And then here I answered a few. So do I want to have to click an edit button, then edit it, and then click a save button? Pain. I hate when like SaaSes do that. Instead, I just want to click on the card. And if I want to edit it, it should just instantly be editable. And once I edit the actual page, I don't want to have to click save my changes. I just want it to autosave. So that's what I kind of told it here. And then essentially, how do I want the AI generated content to appear in the card? I want it to be done vertically. So you can just read it directly off your laptop. So the hook will be at the top, then the whole actual video, and then the captions at the bottom. So that's pretty sweet. And then also like a drop zone. This will be right at the bottom of the card. A percentage for when the video is uploading. And once the video is successfully uploaded, we can just show the thumbnail. So that's kind of all the different steps I wanted to take in our front end. And then it asked a few more, but I'm not going to bore you with those details. And then boom, here we have a full front end design specification that basically has all the ideas in my head. And now we're ready to go and give that to Antigravity. So let's go through our step by step, right? So we've built the back end, we've generated the front end instructions, now we need to build the front end. But there's one step before that. So while we were being super productive, Antigravity was also being super productive, and it's gone and created the back end of our entire automation just based on our prompt over here. So let's have a look at what it's done, and we're also going to run a few tests on this. So over here, it's generated us a lovely walkthrough document. This is very common with Antigravity. It normally always generates an implementation plan, and once you're done, it sometimes generates a walkthrough depending on what you've asked it to do. This was a big project, so it went and did it. So sweet. So we have everything here. Then we have a how to test and verify page. This is what we're really interested in over anything. So now we need to configure our keys. Now, if you've never actually built an automation before, you're not really going to know what this means. Basically, we're using tools here, right? Third-party tools. Not everything is built entirely within Antigravity. For example, Supabase is its own tool. Anthropic, which is the people that own Claude, they have their own tool as well. So we need to enter in all our different API keys into this specific folder over here, which is the .env folder. And over here, Antigravity, it's already done all the setting up. We just need to go in and enter all our different keys directly into here. So the first thing we're going to set up is Supabase. This is our database for the entire automation. This is where all the different data for all the different ideas that we're going to have are going to be stored. It's going to create a table. It's basically Excel on steroids. It is literally a really wham version of Excel. So let's go over here to dashboard. So I already have a Supabase account. If you don't, you just log in and then create one. And I have all of these different organizations over here, and I'm going to build this one in YT Antigravity. So let's click over and I'm going to go and create a new project, and I'm going to call this project exactly what we called our project in Antigravity. There we go, short form content script and upload. I'm gonna get it to generate me a password, and then the region is gonna be in Europe because that's where I'm from, and then enable data API is on, sweet. So everything is all good, and I'm gonna click create new project. And now this is gonna start up a whole new project for us in Supabase with its own database. Also, one thing Antigravity decided not to give us was some SQL, and I'm gonna go through exactly what all of that means, but essentially go into the SQL editor and add some things. The first thing we're gonna need, if we go to .env, is our Supabase URL and our Supabase key, right? And we're going to need to get this all from Supabase. I'm going to show you exactly how to get that. The first place you're going to go to is, let's try and get our URL. So we're going to click connect over here. And once you click on API keys, your URL is going to be right there. Sweet. So I got my URL. And now the next thing I also want to go and do is go to project settings over here. And then we're going to go to API keys. And once you click on this, you'll find something called a secret key over here. We're just going to copy this, and we're also going to paste that into Antigravity under the secret key section. Okay, I also went and pasted my Anthropic API key directly into our Antigravity page. And now all of them live neatly in this .env file. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to ask it why it hasn't given us some SQL to run in Supabase so it can actually go and create the database. So let's go and do that. So I'm going to switch to Gemini 3 Flash just to save a couple of credits. And I'm going to go, hey man, there is no actual database SQL that you've sent me to actually go and create it. Can you do this? And let's send that across. And the reason I'm asking it to do this is because I don't want to create the table manually. If you just paste in some SQL, it'll go and create the database for us. So I'm going to wait for it while it does that. So here we go. It created all the information for us to actually go and build out this database table. So I'm going to go back to Supabase over here, and I'm going to go to SQL editor, and I'm going to paste all of the SQL it gave us, and I'm going to click run. And over here, it's going to say success, no rows returned. And if we go to our table, which is where our database actually is, you'll see over here, we have an entire database, and it has like all the different rows and everything populated for us. This is essentially what that piece of code did. So sometimes when you actually go set it up, Antigravity will give you the SQL, you just go and paste it into here. Other times it might forget to give it to you. And this is when building a lot comes into like key. Like I've basically saved myself a bunch of time because I know I'm going to need that. And that's why I have gone and I've grabbed the SQL data and I've copied it and paste it into here so I don't run it into an error when I go to test the backend. Okay, so there's a couple more things it's asking me for. Number one is a Google Service Account JSON, and the second is a Publer webhook. This is probably to get the other two services to work. I've done this Google Service Account JSON before, but normally it just asks me to pop it into here. So I'm going to double check with it what it wants me to do. Okay, so you can see over here, it just changed a little bit of the automation to fit me essentially. And now I have added my credentials.json into here. You can see it right here. And I've just updated, so it named it service-account.json. I just changed it back to credentials.json, as you can see here. Now, the last thing we need to do is Publer. Okay, so I've noticed it asks for a webhook for Publer, but I've never really done that. Anytime I've done it, I've used an API key and a bunch of other things. So I'm going to double check. So I'm going to ask it to read through the Publer documentation, which I just went to the Publer page and grabbed the documentation. Also, there's a few more things I've noticed. It's not asked me to add the Google Drive file ID into the .env file either, so I don't know where it's going to save all of these videos on my drive since it doesn't have a folder where it knows where it's going to save it. So I'm going to double check that with it as well. If this was the first time you were building an automation, it didn't do the backend very well, onto the point of it didn't think about all the details it needed, which is a little bit disappointing. However, because I've built so many automations before, I can kind of catch all these errors before they're going to happen. Whereas with, if you're building it for the first time, it's probably going to take you an extra 2 to 3 hours to actually build this out, largely because it's going to run into so many errors. It's going to have to figure out why the error happened, and then you're going to have to fix it in adding all the different files in. So that's just something to note. As you get more experience, the quicker it is to build. But anyways, I want to upload to TikTok, and you're going to let me know. I will give you the details you need once you decide. All right, sweet. Let's go with that. Planning 3.1, Gemini High. I think this is good. Let's go with that. Also, sometimes with the backend, I use Claude. This time, I just want to use the new Gemini model. As you can see, it's new right now. So that's kind of why I used it. But normally, Claude Opus 4.6 is really good at building a backend. And it normally doesn't run into as many issues as this one. Also, have a note, though, that like this is a very high-end model. So if you are using like a free Google account to use Antigravity, it's going to be a little bit more difficult because you're going to run out of credits really, really quick. Okay, so it updated Publer so we have better access. So this will essentially allow us to give our API key and TikTok account ID. I do know how to do this since I've done this before. So let's go and run that. And also we'll give it the workspace ID as well. So I have all this information and I think it should have updated the .env file. Okay, so I added everything it wanted from Publer with my Publer access token, the TikTok account ID and the workspace ID. I added them all to the env file. I wanted to double check the API call to make sure it's using those exact variables. So again, we don't run into any errors in the future. So I'm just double checking all of that and making sure it's all perfect and ready to go. To make sure it's written the actual Publer service API call that it's done. So that's all good. This Google Drive folder ID. There we go. This is what we need. So I'm going to copy this. We've got the JSON in the Anthropic key in this. Sweet. So I'm going to go back to .env and just add the folder ID and create a folder in my Google Drive. Okay, so I created the folder in my Google Drive. I'm going to go and copy this ID at the end of it, and that's essentially our ID. And I'm going to add that into our .env folder in Antigravity. Okay, so it's given me a bunch of different commands to do this, and you can test this whole thing in terminal. But that's just a little bit long, right? For someone that's non-technical like me and perhaps you as well. So what I've actually gone and done is I've basically just asked it to give me the local host for testing. It will basically spin up this whole application using this command over here, which turns the deployment server on in the background. And then what we're going to do is it's going to give us the interactive Swagger API documentation. And this is how I recommend you test the backend if you're non-technical and you don't really feel comfortable putting things in terminal command. It's entirely up to you. If you are technical, then this is probably a breeze to you guys, and definitely something to learn if you want to build out stuff in Antigravity in the future. This is a very useful skill if you are non-technical. However, just for this video, I'm going to show you how to use it using the API documentation. So I clicked on this link, and essentially now we can just test it using this, which looks a lot more friendly than terminal. So let's go over here. Let's go to API ideas, and let's go to string, and let's create our idea, right? So I want to say why AI automation is the best side hustle in 2026. Let's go with that, right? That's something I would create. So let's click execute, and this is going to go and execute our thing and hopefully give us an ID. Sweet. So it went and executed. So over here, we can see there is an authentication error, invalid X API. So I'm going to copy this. I definitely entered in all the right API keys. So I don't know which API key is wrong, but essentially that is the error. So let's go back to Antigravity over here and let's paste this. I'm going to double check my .env file to make sure everything looks good. And I'm also going to double check I saved it. And then I'm going to go and ask Antigravity what's wrong. I think it was my fault. Let me try again. I think I entered in the wrong key for Supabase, and that's why it went wrong. But let's try again. So yeah, hopefully that fixed it. Boom, there we go. It did fix it. No, still internal server error, authentication, blah. Never mind. Okay, so I went and asked it what's wrong. It's going to try find out. I think I might have made a mistake with my API key, but I fixed it. So I don't know. We'll double check. If it says I've entered it in wrong, then I will 100 times double check. But essentially, it's saying there's something wrong with my Anthropic key. 404 for the model name Claude. Why is it using Claude 3.5 when I told it to use 4.5? Or just take a look. Otherwise, I will have to check if it's making sure that it uses the right API call, since Claude might have updated the API calls since its knowledge base cutoff. There we go. See, now it's telling me Claude 4.6 is wrong, and it should be using Claude 3-5. So it's using 3.5 Sonnet instead of 4.6 Sonnet, but it's essentially just got this tag wrong. So I'm going to quickly go to Anthropic's website and just tell it to change the model name. So give me a second. Here we are. This is the Claude API ID it should be using, and it used something different. I think it used the right one. Claude Sonnet-4-6, but that is the ID. Interesting. So let me just give it the API call. I think that might be easier. So let's go to our quick start over here, make your first API call. Let me copy this, but instead, let me just change this to our cool little Claude Sonnet one instead of Opus. So let me copy this one and let me paste this one. This API call should work with new model. And let's hope it can change this. I'm going to use a low model instead of the high model, just so it gets done with fewer credits. There we go. So it changed everything, and now hopefully Claude should work. Because everyone is running reloads flag, the server is already automatically picked up. You can now test the payload. Let's go and test it, shall we? Let's go back here and let's click execute, and hopefully this time it will actually work. When I first started using Antigravity, I thought it was some absolutely crazy magic tool. It's just a coding assistant, but you still have to sometimes put in some grind like this to actually show you how it works. So it's currently loading. Let's hope this time it says success and not internal server error, but we'll find out. Great job, there we go. We got a success, and here's all the different stuff we have over here with the caption, the script, and the hook, everything off. Okay, so the next thing I'm gonna do is test the upload function that we have. So we can see over here, we can upload our video. Go down here, I've uploaded a video. It's just a random short video of me. And then I've also got the item ID. This we got from our response here, the ID, which is when we put the why AI automation is the best side hustle. Now I'm gonna click execute and see how this goes. So hopefully it's gonna go and upload our video to Google Drive. Our response was uploaded. Drive file ID is wrong. This is our response. This looks like a dummy response, not a real response. I'm gonna double check what this is about. So let's go over to Antigravity. Let's flick over here. And then this is the response. Do I just have to wait? Right, let's see what it says. Otherwise, if it's just like a dummy response, I don't really want that. So here we go. Gemini and I had a disagreement. Essentially, it was trying to get me to use a server's account, whereas I just want to use an OAuth version instead. So that's why it's not authenticated, and that's why I can't upload to my Google Drive. So we're going to go and fix that error as well, and it's going to update to use the OAuth flow instead of the flow that it wanted to use. So I think it's going to do some stuff in the background, and then I'm going to have a page on, right, there we go, accounts.google, right? And I'm going to sign in using my account. And here we go, we hit this page over here, which is Antigravity, and I'm going to click allow, boom, boom, and authentication flow is complete. You may close this window, and now it should be able to do it. It says, from then on, all uploads will work automatically using your personal Google Drive account. Try the upload command again, and once you've clicked allow, so let's do that. So we're back to our page here, and let's see if we have an execute. There we go, we have the file, and let's click execute again. And hopefully this time it should work, and it should not give us dummy data. Sweet, there we go, status is uploaded, and it gave us a drive file ID. I'm also just gonna double check it uploaded it to the right folder. There we go, video6.mp4 is all saved to our Google Drive now, and there we go, it is all good. Sweet. So now the next thing we wanna do is upload that to Publer. So let's click try it out, and we just need to enter the item ID. So hopefully we get that. I'm going to suppose it's the same ID as before. So let's click copy here, and then let's go over here and click paste, and let's click execute and post publishing initiated, which is a very good sign. And I'm also going to open up my Publer. So I just asked Antigravity if I'm just being impatient or if there was an error, because I don't want to wait super long. And essentially there was a 404 error from the API. So it's currently going to try and debug it. If this doesn't work, I'm going to have to go to the Publer API documentation. I'm going to have to copy what I think it needs to use and paste it in here, just like I did with Claude. So let's go and have a look. I found the issue. It is updated apparently. Let's try again, right? Make sure you've authorized the Google Drive, that's fine. Run the publish cal command or hit the publish button in Swagger API again. Let's try it. Let's execute. Let's see what it does. It says publishing initiated. I might have to run the whole thing again with a separate ID. We're going to see. But in the meantime, let me just hit a refresh on Publer. Also, I just realized I should be saving posts as a draft, not to publish them, because I don't want to actually go and post them onto my actual TikTok account. It might have already done it. I'll just go and delete it. But we're over here. Let me click refresh. I don't think anything came through, which means I don't think it posted. I'm going to double check. I'm going to make sure it switches to using a draft. And I think it saved them as a draft. And it rejected it because the Publer access token in your .env file expired. Blah, blah, blah. Let me double check this stuff first. Let me check my env files to make sure I entered everything in correctly. Okay, so let's try fix the last thing. I've essentially gone through all the different documentation. I'm going to give it to Antigravity to set up, and I've also given it all the variables in my .env file. So hopefully this way it should set up the API key properly. I'm also going to set this to high just so it does everything. So hopefully it reads my instructions, uses them, and everything should work on our next attempt. Okay, sweet. So it's gone and made the update. Now I want to retry. So let me go over to our documentation over here, and I'm going to click execute one more time, and let's see what happens. It should say publishing initiated, and I'm going to just wait for it to come through over to here. Okay, there seems to be some problem uploading to Publer right now, and it says we're going to have to wait about 5 to 10 minutes to clear out the error, basically. So what we're going to do in the meantime is not just wait, we're going to go and build out the front end. So let's go and do that. So I'm going to switch this Gemini 3.1 Pro, and we already created the prompt for building out the front end. So let's go and do that. So we're going to go to Gemini over here. This is the right one, right? And then this is our front end building section. So let's go and copy all of this, and I'm going to copy this and I'm going to go like this and just say, okay, while waiting, let's build the front end. Sweet. And then it's got the whole specification, everything over here. Maybe I can copy a bit neater than that. So let's go here and let's get rid of all of this, and yeah, there we go. This is much better. Let me just delete this last bit here. And is there anything at the start? There we go. And we're using Gemini 3.1 high with planning, perfect. And let's click send. So this should hopefully go and build out the entire front end for us. And while the front end is building and while we're waiting for that one feature in the back end to start working, let us go to our step-by-step guide. And let's go to our steps. And we can see here, we're starting on step 8. But while we're doing step 8, we could also do step 9, which is to generate some testing instructions. So let us go to prompts and prompt 5. And let's go and create some testing instructions to go to give the anti-gravity once everything is fixed and we're really happy with the whole automation. So I got the testing prompt here, set this to pro, and now we're going to paste this through, and then it's going to come up with some really cool detailed testing instructions to give to anti-gravity. This is basically so we don't have to do a large portion of the testing. The AI agent will do it for us. So let's go and let it do that. In the meantime, let's go up and see what it's been doing on the front end. It is still building some stuff over here. So we're just going to let it go and do all of that front end building. And we're going to see our testing instructions are also being built. Okay, so Antigravity came back and said it built out the full absolute front end. I'm going to work on that Publer thing after the fact because it said I need to wait like an hour for the whole queue to clear. So I'm going to work on that after. So we've still got the whole front end built out now. I opened up this link and the page looks like this, which is super, super cool. It has all the different ideas that we want. You can obviously drop our MP4 files into here, and we can also click publish to TikTok, which hopefully will work once we start to get Publer up and running. There are a few things I noticed that should change. For example, here it's highlighted this in red, but really it should have put it into history. I only want to see active here and then things we've published here. I think that's a good idea. Let's do that and let's get it to fix that so it puts all the published ideas into history. Also, we have a new video idea page, so I'm going to test this out. Why not? So, why iPhones are on the decline. Let's just write that. Why not? And it's going to go and generate us an idea. So it's clicking generating right now. Here we go. So we have the original idea why the iPhones are on the decline. Apple doesn't want you to know this, blah, blah, blah. There's the hook, and then we have all the different things we can say, and the actual caption as well. And obviously, once we record the video, we can drop it into here or click to browse, and then we can get published to TikTok. So let me click this and then actually go and upload a video. All right, I just uploaded a random video, and it's currently saying it's uploading. I'm going to tell it to get rid of that percentage mark. That's a little bit weird, and I think just the uploading. Oh, there we go. Video upload ready, and then it should be there. And let me just double check my Google Drive. There are 2 videos and now there should be 3. Boom, there are 3. Sweet. So that is that done. And now publish to TikTok will work once we fix Publer. So it all works nicely. The things I would change here is I would put things that have already been published into our history tab over here. I will change that so it just says uploading with no 100%. I think that's quite useful. And I think the rest is actually pretty good. This is exactly kind of how I envisioned it. Cool, so I'm telling it to go make some changes. I'm going to send this across and hopefully it goes and makes the front end changes that we want. And after it makes these front end changes, I'm going to go and paste the testing prompt into here, and we're going to go and test the entire flow. Here we go, all the changes have been made. We have the history tab over here now, and it shows us everything. It even shows us failed on Publer, which is interesting, and how it knows that. And then we also have our new idea section over here. When I go to put a video on here, let's just put a random one. There we go. Now it just says uploading with no 100% kind of thing on it. Okay, so I'm really happy with this front end now. The next step is to go and do our testing prompt, which we already got. So let me flick over to Gemini over here, and we have front-end test, back-end test, blah, 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 blah. I'm just going to go and copy this prompt, flick to anti-gravity, paste this. Let's go here, comprehensive testing. So yeah, that's cool. I'm going to remove this last line. I don't want it to know about any of this stuff. And we're going to use Gemini 3 high, and we're going to click enter. Boom. Now this is going to go and run some tests for us. And all of the whole thing, it's going to do front-end tests, back-end tests. The cool thing with the Google Antigravity is it has this function where it can test your front-end by clicking on different things and to make sure all the buttons work and the page looks neat. It can self-test, which is a super valuable feature within Google Antigravity. So the testing is done. It did everything and it gave us a full report, which is great. I don't think I need to review anything with that. So awesome. The next step now in our step-by-step is so we've done the testing. Now it's to secure our automation using a basic authentication prompt. It's just to make sure we have a password on our automation. So when we deploy it, not everyone can use it. So I'm going to copy this prompt over here. I'm going to paste it in and click enter. This one doesn't go into any chat like all the other ones. This one just goes straight into Antigravity, and it will give us a really cool authentication to our automation over here. And I'm back with a new haircut and a beard trim. But anyways, we keep moving. So we're building out the rest of our flow. So essentially I fixed basically this process over here. So now it no longer errors, and I'm just going to show you that in a minute. And essentially how I did that was I already kind of built this for another automation that I'm building internally. Probably the video that you're watching right now was published by Publer, right? So I've already built this out before, which is why I knew a lot about it. However, what's a little confusing is I tried and I tried and I tried, and I used all the different models. I used Gemini, I used Claude, and for some reason it just could not get it right. So eventually I gave up. I went to my other automation. I copied the Python script from there, delete everything you got, just modify this, and essentially just run it and just fix it. So it went through, it read that, and it fixed it, and it updated our Publer service over here. Now, I have no clue why it just wouldn't work. What I would recommend is, if you're ever in this situation, is ask Antigravity to completely remove everything related to like Publer and publishing if it doesn't work. Then, once that occurs, then you just tell it to redo it, remake the entire thing from scratch, because sometimes it gets lost in its own head. Claude was running for like a good 20 minutes before I just forced it to stop, because it was just going around in a circle ultimately. And that is one of the things. We are really good with these AI models and AI coding. However, it's not like 100% there. And for someone like me who's non-technical, it is sometimes more difficult to debug things. Also, I have this option to go to my co-founder. She's a software engineer, so she can normally help me out considerably, whereas I can imagine some of you guys might not have that kind of situation. But that's also why we set up our community, because you can get all the help you need in fixing all of these things, whether from me or from my co-founder as a software engineer or anyone else from our team, you'll get the help. So that's exactly what we're doing here, and now everything works. So let's go test it out. So we're over here, this is Publer, right? And we've got the front end. Let's give a new idea, right? Why Antigravity is the best AI coding agent tool, right? Why Google's Antigravity is the best AI coding agent tool, right? And now it's going to go and create a video for us on this. Okay, so here is the really cool idea, and it's come up with the hook and everything else. Now I'm going to drop in a file. I'm going to just drop this one in. It's just a random video that I'm working on, and now that's going to upload. Cool, so the video uploaded, and now I'm just going to click publish to TikTok, and it's going to send it to Publer, and now hopefully it should save as a draft within my Publer, or it should schedule it now, so let's wait for it to do that. I'm also going to flick open to Publer and maybe click refresh in case it's already done. And here we go, we're in Publer, and it is still showing publishing here, but eventually it will fix it and it will just say it's published. And we're over here, and you can see here's the video I uploaded, and here is Google's Antigravity AI Change Coding Forever. Here is the caption. So there we go, we're all ready to go. I'm going to delete this because I don't want it to publish on my account, but you can see auto scheduling is working now. So now we've got to go through the last step, and that is to actually go and deploy the solution. There's something else I want to note. You have to make sure everything works before you deploy the solution. Because now say I didn't fix this and we deployed the entire solution, and then I went to go and fix it, I have to redeploy the entire solution. And it just wastes so much time having to fix it, redeploy, fix it, redeploy. So this is why I try and get everything fixed before I redeploy. And then anytime you make any changes, of course, then you can redeploy after that. So that's why, just to save a little bit of time. Now, we have our prompt over here, which is our deployment prompt. So I'm going to copy our deployment prompt here, and I'm going to paste our deployment prompt into Antigravity, and I'm going to use Gemini 3.1 High. Actually, no, I changed mine. I'm going to use Claude for this instead of Gemini. So let's go with that. Click enter and let our anti-gravity agent work for us in deploying this solution. Okay, so here is the deployment prompt. I'm just going to click enter and let's hope it goes and deploys. There we go. It's starting to deploy. It's essentially validating, configuring. This is the key point when it builds the container. That's normally where things sometimes go wrong. And then creates a revision, routing traffic, setting the policy, blah, blah, blah. It's going to go do all of that cool stuff. And then it's going to spout us a link. And that link is where you can access your entire automation. There we go. The whole application deployed. I'm going to type in the username, which is subscribe. Don't forget to go and do that if you enjoyed this video. And the password, let me just type that in. And here we go. It didn't work. We have detail not found as the link, which obviously isn't right. So something has gone wrong. So I'm going to flick back to my buddy Antigravity. I'm going to flick back to Claude Opus 4.6 and say detail not found. This is what shows up on the page once I type in my password and username. So there we go, and I'm going to tell it this, and then hopefully it's going to go and fix our issues over here. And here we go, Claude is on the job to go and fix this. If I do see any more errors, literally I'm going to follow the exact same model. I'm going to go check the link. If there's something wrong, I'm going to go to Antigravity and go back and forward and back and forward and back and forward. There's nothing interesting or nothing special that you kind of need to learn to debug these things, right? Just super easy. Just let the agent figure it out and let it do it. Now, I'm not saying if you don't have technical knowledge, it's going to be easy. It's certainly not going to be easy, but you don't need to have coding experience to do this stuff. So it said it fixed it over here. I clicked on the link and we are in. It is fully deployed. Now, I'm not going to get too excited because it might not work. So let's just double check everything works. So let's come up with a video idea of why the DJI mic mini is a must-have for creators. Let's go with that. Generate script. Boom, and we're going to wait for it to generate the script. And there we go, we have the idea over here. It ran all directly from the cloud. Now let's go and upload our video to here. And we can see over here, it is currently uploading to our Google Drive. Video uploaded. If we go to history over here, we can see our video has been uploaded. And now if I click publish to TikTok, it should hopefully send all of this stuff over to Publer. Let's click send to Publer. Boom, boom, boom. It's sending. Let's give it a few seconds to go and do that. And it says it's published over here. And if I go over to Publer, there we go. It's coming through. And we should see our video somewhere here. Okay, so I tried a new one and I clicked publish to Publer and I'm going to wait and see. I basically went back to Antigravity and said, yo, man, this isn't working. Can you fix it, please? And hopefully it went and fixed it. It's now sending everything and publishing. So let me go and have a look. All right, I'm going to flick over to Publer. Here we are. We can see it added it directly to Publer, so it fixed it. And this is coming directly from our front-end TikTok Studio API page over here, which is posted onto our Google Cloud Run. So there we go. We built out the backend, we built out the front end, we deployed it. It all works really well and really nicely. Now, if you enjoyed this video and you learned something, I'd really appreciate if you could interact with it, whether that be a like, a subscribe, or even a comment. It really helps so much. Thank you so much, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.